people of the internet, my name is Sisley and welcome back to my channel. So today we are talking about albums, specifically albums that came out this year and that I loved the most throughout the year. This, as with songs and music videos, is a chart that I'm making second year in a row. Except last year it was 10 albums and this year I gathered 5 just because there were many good albums, but there weren't many albums that I would obsessively listen to. So I just want to highlight the albums that I'm actually passionate about and that I know that I will be listening to for many years to come. But before we start, of course, as always, I would like to invite you to check out my Patreon page. If you enjoy my videos and feel like supporting me beyond watching them, please consider supporting me through there. There will be a link in the description as well as in the pinned comment below the video. And also I would like to thank the people who already have supported me through Patreon. I am incredibly grateful and you can't even imagine how much that means to me. So strap yourself in, fellas, because this is the top 5 2018 albums based on my personal and very biased opinions. At number 5 we have Origins by Imagine Dragons. This album has been anticipated by me, obviously, a lot, because even though we've heard about this album like a month before it was released, it was still incredibly exciting because the previous album, Evolve, was my favorite album of 2017, if you can remember that from my last chart, and I listened to it so much. And while with Oranges I didn't yet have that much time to delve into it and listen to it as much as I did with Evolve, I already love it so much. The songs are so good, they're so powerful, and there's so much diversity, and the story that is told through that album is so cool. It's different than Evolve, but like they said, it's like a continuation, like a conclusion to the Evolve album, and I think that's really exciting. Conceptually, it was a beautiful album, and the style of the songs and the production and how creative it was, it did not disappoint at all. I was absolutely in love with that album when I first heard it, and I'm still in love with it now, and I will be in love with it months later. At number 4 is another recent one, A Brief Inquiry to Online Relationships by the 1975. Like I said in my top 10 music videos video, the 1975 was a recent discovery for me, even though they're not a new band, and this new album is so incredible, conceptually beautiful. It's a beautiful journey. It has everything from very peaceful and calm songs to very energetic and powerful with a lot of screaming and important lyrics and stuff like that. That album is everything that I could ask for from an album. It has intense songs, it has happy songs, it has sad songs, it has weird songs, it has conceptual tracks that barely have any lyrics or vocals. That was a journey and I am so in love with it. This definitely objectively deserves a place among the best albums of the year. At number 3 we have Dirty Computer by Janelle Monáe. Now this I have to place here solely because of how musically and thematically beautiful that album was. Once again, it was such a cohesive record. It wasn't missing anything. Each and every song was relevant. It was just magical. It was powerful. There were lots of conventional melodies paired with new and exciting combinations of rhythms and lyrics. Structurally, some of the songs were quite different than what you would expect from a generic pop song on radio. Both lyrically and conceptually, once again, this album definitely deserves praise. And I think it was even nominated for a Grammy, at least in one category, so I really hope it wins because that album deserves it so much. It's so good in every single way, and while I didn't listen to it a whole lot, the times that I did listen to it, I appreciated it and I had the time of my life. At number 2, we have Owl City's Cinematic. I love that album so much. I love Owl City so much. Ever since Fireflies, ever since I fell in love with that song, I loved Owl City and the style of music that they made. Just that light, just pure and bright pop. They're not anything groundbreaking when it comes to the musical aspects or the lyrical aspects, but they're just so pleasant to listen to. They're just my kind of pop music. It's easy, it's accessible, it challenges you just enough that it sparks your imagination and it makes you want to float through a fantasy world of your own, which is honestly my favorite thing to do when I listen to music. If a song makes me imagine scenarios or makes me inspired to write something or create a story or something like that is the best kind of music for me. I'll get fixated on that song and I'll listen to it again and again because that's the best effect that music can have on a person, in my opinion. And Cinematic does just that. Like, it is very cinematic. Like, it has grand sounding songs, it has fun songs, it's a whole journey, it's a story. Once again, a very cohesive album. It tells a story from the beginning to the the end, and each and every song is really pleasant to listen to. I absolutely loved it. Now, before we go to number one, I have to put in at least a few honorable mentions, because let's be honest, I couldn't gather 10 albums that I love as much as I love those, 5 albums, but I did gather a couple more than 5, and I wanted to mention those that did not make it into the top 5. So let's start with Dancing Queen by Cher. Of course, that album of ABBA covers. It's not necessarily like an album as in it does not present any new concepts, it's not original songs, it's entirely a cover album. But I mean, it's Cher covering ABBA songs. That was like one of the highlights of my year. That was genuinely one of the biggest things that I was excited for this year. Ever since Cher announced that she will put out an entire album of ABBA covers, I was sold on the idea, and the album did not disappoint. I loved it, and I think she teased in one tweet that there will be a second ABBA cover album next year, so I hope that's true because I really love this one. Of course, an album that probably a lot of people would expect to see on my year's end list is Sweetener, and the only reason that it didn't get into this chart is because there were albums that I loved more this year, and like Sweetener wasn't a bad album at all. Like, don't be mistaken, just because an album isn't in this top 5 doesn't mean that I actually didn't like it or something like that. Sweetener was cute, but I think Ariana has put out better albums when it comes to an entire concept. Like, for example, even Dangerous Woman. Well, Dangerous Woman might not be my favorite Ariana album as well, but I think it works better. I kind of like it more as a whole. However, the songs in Sweetener, like No Tears Left to Cry and Breathing, were some of my favorite this year. So of course I have to give kudos to Ariana for producing some quality bops, even though the entire album isn't as cool in my opinion as some others. And finally, another huge honorable mention is Eden by Cupcake. You can actually put E for Eyes in here between the honorable mentions too, because Eden and E for Eyes both came out this year. And Cupcake, as I mentioned many times before, is one of the artists that I actually genuinely admire a lot for how humble she is and just how kind and how helpful. She's very engaged with her fans and she does everything independently. She's an independent artist and she's doing amazing, because while she might be known for songs like Deep Throat the best, she has some profound lyrics. And I put Eden in here just because I think with this album she wrote some of her most profound and clever lyrics, and like in every single song there were gems after gems after gems, and it was just such a cool album to listen to. I don't listen to Cupcake as much as I used to. My favorite album from her was Queen Elizabeth, but with every new release she does, it reminds me of how much I admire her and how good of a songwriter she is. So Eden definitely deserves an honorable mention, and a big one at that. So now that we got through that, we're gonna go straight to number 1. And I don't know how much of you have predicted this based on my channel, but of course, the first place has to go to the A Star Is Born soundtrack by Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. This was the most anticipated thing from this entire year. Like, at the start of the year, I listened to some albums, they're cool, but I knew that once Gaga starts releasing stuff, she's gonna save this damn year, and God, she did. She delivered more than I could have ever expected. When I first saw the trailers and stuff like that, I was like, it's just gonna be a yeehaw movie with country songs made for straight people. But it was surprisingly pop. It was surprisingly Gaga. There were so many good pop songs in that album. And even the folk-inspired songs, they were brilliantly written. That entire album, including the solo songs sang by Bradley Cooper, was incredible. I listened to it so much. Like, so much. I'm just in awe how Gaga delivered once again, even though it's a movie soundtrack, even though it's not a solo album. She delivered songs that surpassed most of the other songs that I've heard this year, that came out this year actually, because I listened to a lot of older music too. And that is definitely genuinely the album that I listened to the most as an album that came out this year. So like I said, probably was expected because I am a big Gaga fan and I always love the stuff that she releases, because her voice alone, like, she could release a track screaming for 3 minutes and I would still love it, because I just love her voice that much and her songwriting and her topics and, well, everything about her. But yeah, that was my favorite albums of 2018 that actually came out in 2018, because let me tell you, I have a lot of other favorite albums that I listened to this year. But yeah, that would be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Tell me in the comments what were your favorite albums of 2018. I'm really excited to see your comments because I'm really curious about what people rank as the best albums in their opinion. So yeah, this was super fun to make. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching this video and I will see you next time. I love you guys. Bye! Mwah!